Okay, hello. This is my first booktube video, and I thought it would be really great if I opened it with everything that I've read this year so far. So, a collection of books that I have bought or have been lent to me, and then there's some books that I borrowed from the library that are no longer here that we're still going to talk about, and any Audible books that I listen to as well. So no particular order because I don't know when I read them and in which order necessarily. Start with Milk Fed. Fed was a really interesting read. I'm gonna make up my ratings right now because I don't typically rate them, but I think that's fun. So I'd probably rate Milk Fed like 3.75 stars out of 5. It was really interesting. So it's basically has an eating disorder and she's really focused on food a lot of the time. And she basically meets this Orthodox Jewish woman who is really intent on feeding her. And then it kind of turns into this like full romance. And it's also about religion. Personally, didn't really love it. I didn't love how focused it was on like food and like her disordered eating. Even like the spicy scenes in here were kind of off-putting. Like I don't want to get into it. I don't want to like ruin it if you haven't read it. But the plot of the book was really interesting, to be honest. And like she kind of builds up this obsession with the Orthodox Jewish woman. It was an okay read. It was recommended on TikTok, so I read it, but I'm not enthused by it. But that's one of the books. It was Honey Girl. Honestly, I did not like this book at all. Okay, not at all. I'll give it like a 3 out of 5. And I think it just felt unfinished for me and a little repetitive. But basically, it's about Grace Porter, and she happens upon there's just like it's a romance. It's kind of a romance. It's also a journey of self-discovery for Grace, and I think that I was hoping that this book would be like romantic, and I thought we would get a little bit more into who her love interest is, a little bit more into who she is. But for me, I felt like the characters felt very unfinished. Like I didn't get enough context into who they are to really like buy into their stories and the romance. And I think at the end it felt kind of didn't land in the way that I wanted it to. 3 stars. I also was gifted a bunch of books years ago by one of my coworkers, and they had been in like a tote like upstairs in my storage. No interest in reading them until I basically forced myself to read them this year. And some of them not bad, some of them not great. So I read the Goddess collection. This is 2 novels in one. So there's 2 different stories. One is Goddess of the Sea and one is Goddess of the Spring. So Goddess of the Sea is basically about a woman who's in the Air Force, and she does this magical ritual at night. And Gaia hears her magical ritual, and she gets into this plane crash, kind of giving away, but kind of gets into a plane crash, and she gets swept away into Gaia's world. And she basically wakes up in the body of a mermaid, and that mermaid is over her body in the world. And she kind of goes through an adventure in that way. In this story, she turned from mermaid or into like a human. She also has a love interest in this story. Actually, I personally like this one. I did. I like the way it ended. It was a happy ending. To be honest, in comparing the both of them, the first one, very, very good. I had very little notes. It was enjoyable. I love mermaids. I was a little confused about like the spicy scenes because I don't really quite know how like spice would work, but use your imagination. It was okay. The second one is about Persephone and Hades. Similar story, a woman, and she does a baking magic ritual. She finds a book that has a magic recipe in it, and then she gets swept into this world, takes the place of young goddess Persephone, sweeps in. Basically, the job of Persephone is to kind of bring spring to the underworld. Goes on this journey to bring spring to the underworld. Hades is like a misunderstood, really sweet guy. So this book, 3.75 stars. If you're into like mythical stories and things like that, I would recommend this to you. like no shade, PC cast. I did not enjoy these books like at all. It's just one of those books, and I don't know if you've done this before, but like you start it and then you just like kind of force your way through because you're like, it's gotta get better than that. Like it's gotta get better. That was me in these books. So I'm not gonna spend too much time on it. It's about similar things. She loves, I don't know if this is in her other books, but she loves Freaky Friday switching places type vibes. So it goes into an auction and she finds like a vase mirror image of herself on this. Like so mirror image that like a scar or something on the hand that only she has and she has it. And when it's like caught to the touch and she ends up winning this vase, and on her way home, or is an auction, so she like bought it or something like that. And then she, on her way home, gets into a car accident and this vase is like vibrating. It's like so hot. And then she wakes up in another world, Epona's goddess's chosen body. And it spirals into first book. And that goddess switches into her body in real life. Freaky Friday style, like I said. Book, she finds out that she's supposed to be married to the centaur. The centaur is like a really sweet guy. That life, she was really mean to everyone, you know, arranged husband. And so working PR double time to show how kind she is and how open she is, and she really cares about the land. An enemy in this book that's like threatening her land. This book was like, okay, I'm weirded out by the centaur stuff, but okay, I'm gonna read it. The end of the book was okay. Second book is basically a follow-up, hear more about what happened to the person that takes over her life, and she is also like stepping more into her role in this world, building up her life. Battle between the two. There's kind of a battle about this. And then there are babies that happen in this. This is about one of the children that one of the goddesses had and what happens. Didn't enjoy. Sorry to say, I did not enjoy this one. It's like 2 stars for every single one, but I had to see it through. So let's get into the ones that I really did like. Loved Powerless. I know that this was like on TikTok and like people were talking about it. This is a YA book, and I don't want to talk too much about it because I know that there's so many more reviews about this. This is like everywhere. And the second book, Reckless, I believe is coming out next month in July. I'm excited about this. Like 5 stars. There was like no spicy scenes in this one. No, but the tension was like, it was so good in this. There's magic systems in here. There's like past stories, royals. It's very like version of like Hunger Games. The novella, one of the characters' best friend in Powerless, this is her story. I loved this book. It really almost had me tearing up at the end. Just no notes, 5 stars. No notes. You just keep going. I love you. Next is Sanctuary of the Anyways, so yes. Just went into Walmart one day, saw this here, read the quick blurb in the back, loved it. Basically, the main character works in a circus, and the main character is working in a circus. There are these like, they all have like powers, and they're all like kind of mixed hybrid humans. So like, but she's one that doesn't have like, she's hiding her power or whatever it is, and she's like playing a psychic in the circus. And basically there's these shadow creatures that wiped out all of her original village, like her people. One day one of these shadow creatures are captured and brought to the circus, and I don't want to get too much into it, but there's like, you know, a little bit of discovery, there's adventure, they go on an adventure together. There is love, there is spicy scenes in this, like there's a lot of spicy scenes in this. I really liked it. There's going to be a second book that follows one of the other characters in this, like her close friend is going to be in the second book, I believe, when I looked it up. I like this book. It's not that long. It's very easy read and it's very enjoyable. I love hybrid animal characters, magic, the whole vibe. Plus it's like a what is it called when it's like he is like the villain, but he's really a good guy, and it really wasn't his fault that he did the bad things that he did in this book. So anyways, really like this one. 4 stars. Really like. So some of my books are not here because they're library books. Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris, sorry. Oh my gosh, so freaking good. I never read suspense stories like this. I always read like fantasy, romance. That's pretty much it. This one was like a suspense story. So basically it's about this woman who, like, she never leaves her house. She presents in the perfect marriage. She just always looks put together. And her husband is with her all the time. He pays for everything. Like, she doesn't have a cell phone. She doesn't have an email address. Like, and they're constantly hosting their neighbors, and their neighbors are always like, oh, like, we want to hang out with you. Like, let's make plans. You keep canceling on us. And she's like, okay, next time. But like, obviously next time never comes. We find out in the story story that she's basically like trapped in her house. I really think this is 5 stars. Read that book because I was literally like, I had to keep going. I could, and just the ending is just like so good. Like, though, that's all for my first video. I will see you all next time.